A truck burns at a Montana rest stop. No driver in sight. Just a custodian's account of an Arizona pickup and a fire that started minutes after he looked away. And a body that won't be found for another 110 days. A father of four calls 911 from a dark Texas highway. He's panicked. Someone's chasing him into the woods. And when help arrives 30 minutes later, he's gone. His remains won't be discovered for 9 years, less than a quarter mile from where he made that call. These aren't stories about bad luck or wrong turns. These are cases where the last confirmed location was supposed to be safe. A rest stop, a highway shoulder, places where help should have been minutes away, and where every piece of evidence investigators found only deepened the mystery. This is Dark File Archive. November 19, 1985. Dexter Stefanik was 67 years old. He'd recently lost his wife and was making the drive from Rhinelander, Wisconsin to visit his son in Oregon for Thanksgiving. It was supposed to be a straightforward trip across the northern states. Highway driving. Rest stops every few hours. Nothing complicated. Somewhere in eastern Montana, he pulled into a rest area just outside the town of Glendive. Locals called it Bad Route. It was a small facility. Restrooms, picnic tables, a parking lot off the highway. The kind of place where travelers stop for 15 minutes and move on. That morning, a custodian named Fred Siegel arrived for his shift sometime between 8 and 8:30. He noticed an older pickup truck with Arizona license plates parked near the restrooms. The truck had a camper shell. It looked lived in. But no one was around. Siegel thought it was odd but didn't dwell on it. People sleep in their vehicles at rest stops all the time. About 15 minutes later, another worker named Clyde Mitchell pulled into the rest area. He walked past the same Arizona truck on his way to the restrooms. Later, he'd describe feeling uneasy. Something about the truck bothered him. The camper shell, the way it was parked. He couldn't put his finger on it. Mitchell left the rest stop, but within minutes, he realized he'd forgotten something and turned back around. When he returned, the Arizona truck was gone, and Dexter Stefanik's Plymouth Horizon was fully engulfed in flames. Fire crews arrived quickly. No one was inside the vehicle, no sign of Stefanik anywhere. Investigators determined the car had been intentionally set on fire. The windows were shattered. Gasoline had been used as an accelerant, but robbery didn't appear to be the motive. A suitcase was recovered later, and it still contained money. Dexter Stefanik had vanished. Search teams combed the area around the rest stop. They found nothing, no blood, no signs of a struggle, no evidence he'd even been there except for his burning car. Days turned into weeks, then months. The case went cold. 110 days after the fire in early March of 1986, a remote landfill about 4 miles from the rest stop yielded a grim discovery. Workers found human remains. It was Dexter Stefanik. The coroner determined he'd been beaten and shot. His clothing was scattered around the dump site. And here's where it gets strange. The clothes had been placed there recently, even though Stefanik had been dead since November. 1 week after the body was found, someone noticed graffiti in the men's restroom at Bad Route. Written in pencil on the wall, it read, "Hot jock shot wad from Wisconsin, 11/85, Saturday the 3rd. Police believe the killer left that message. A confession hidden in plain sight, mocking investigators, or maybe trying to claim credit. Clyde Mitchell, the worker who'd seen the Arizona truck, agreed to be hypnotized. Under hypnosis, he recalled a partial license plate, 147. Investigators ran the numbers. They narrowed it down to fewer than 60 vehicle owners in Arizona with plates matching that sequence. None could be definitively linked to the crime. For decades, the case stayed unsolved. Then in 2024, authorities named a person of interest, Charles Gary Sullivan, a convicted murderer currently serving time in Nevada for unrelated crimes. Investigators linked him to the Stefanik case based on circumstantial evidence. But as of today, no charges have been filed. Dexter Stefanik's murder remains officially open. But this isn't the only time someone vanished at a place where help should have been close. August 8, 2013. Brandon Lawson was 26 years old. He lived in San Angelo, Texas with his girlfriend and their 4 children. Late that night, he got into an argument with his girlfriend. Nothing violent, just a disagreement. Brandon decided to cool off by driving to his father's house in Crowley, about 3 hours north. He left just before midnight. At 12:30 in the morning on August 9th, Brandon called his brother Kyle. He sounded frantic. He'd run out of gas on Highway 277 near the small town of Braunt. He needed help. Kyle asked if Brandon was okay. Brandon said people were chasing him. Kyle asked if he was hallucinating. Brandon said no. 20 minutes later, at 12:50 a.m., Brandon placed a 911 call. The audio is difficult to understand. His words are rushed and panicked, but investigators were able to make out key phrases. Quote, "I'm in the middle of a field. My truck ran out of gas. There's one car here. The guy's chasing me into the woods. Please hurry." A deputy was dispatched. He arrived just after 1 a.m. Brandon's brother Kyle pulled up at almost the same time with a gas can. Brandon's truck was there. It was blocking part of the highway. The hazard lights were on, but the keys were gone. Brandon's phone was gone, and there was no sign of Brandon. Kyle left the gas can in the truck bed and waited. Brandon never came back. The deputies searched the immediate area. Nothing, no footprints, no blood, no signs of a struggle. It was as if Brandon had simply stepped out of his truck and disappeared into the darkness. Search teams were called in. They scoured the fields and brush around Highway 277. Cadaver dogs found nothing. Brandon's bank accounts showed no activity after that night. His cell phone went silent. There were no pings, no texts, no calls. One theory focused on the fact that Brandon had an outstanding warrant for a minor offense. Some investigators believed he saw the deputy arriving and panicked. Maybe he hid in the field and got disoriented. Maybe he got lost in the dark. But that didn't explain the 911 call. Brandon specifically mentioned someone chasing him into the woods, and his brother confirmed Brandon sounded genuinely terrified. Years passed. Brandon's family never stopped searching. In February of 2022, volunteers found clothing in a field near where the truck had been abandoned. The items matched descriptions of what Brandon had been wearing that night. Texas Rangers were called in. They discovered human remains nearby. It took until late 2024 for DNA results to come back. The remains were confirmed to be Brandon Lawson's. He had been less than a quarter mile from his truck the entire time. Less than a quarter mile from where his brother had waited with a gas can. Less than a quarter mile from where the deputy had searched. What happened in those 30 minutes between the 911 call and Brandon's death? Did someone chase him? Did he fall and injure himself in the dark? Why couldn't search teams find him for 9 years when he was so close to the highway? No arrests have been made. The case remains open. 2 men, 2 locations that should have been safe. A Montana rest stop where a custodian saw a suspicious truck, and 15 minutes later a car was burning. A Texas highway where a young father called for help and vanished before anyone could reach him. In both cases, the timeline is impossibly tight. In both cases, the physical evidence raises more questions than it answers. What connects these cases isn't just the mystery, it's the proximity. Dexter Stefanik's body was found 4 miles from where his car burned. Brandon Lawson's remains were discovered a quarter mile from his truck. They were close enough that search teams should have found them, close enough that someone should have seen something, but no one did. If you've been following cases like these, or if there's a specific disappearance you think we should cover, let us know in the comments. And if you want more investigations into the places where people vanish, subscribe. There are more files to open, more questions that need answers. Thanks for watching.